Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, this podcast now features special classic 2D events. Marvel at 4:33 in 2D. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including release dates for Final Fantasy VIII and Mario Kart Tour. And then on Thursday, we are going to be ranking Nintendo bosses. But Mark, in the meantime, and before we have to explain what that means, how you doing?
Yeah, quickly, let's change the subject. I'm doing great. I'm feeling limber.
Limber?
Yeah.
Were you stretching earlier? No, come on. Why do you feel limber?
I don't know. Just for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, we are both of a certain age in
Yes.
our 30s.
Yes, that's right.
And some days you feel limber and some days you don't. This is all to say, this is not to drive away young people from this show.
I don't know. You're talking about your limberness. It doesn't. Okay.
I'm sure some people find that interesting.
No, no one does.
My level of limber, that's not a segment that needs to be on this show, like guest weather.
Okay. No, sure. So if listeners would like us to talk about their limberness, just send us an email at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com, and I'll ignore those, I think. There was a fire very near us last night, Mark. Just over here, next to the where the 2 meets the 134. The fire. And we could see smoke. And
I was wondering how close it got to you guys.
Fairly close. We could see rescue helicopters going to the reservoir, picking up water, and then flying over to where the fire was.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, honestly, long-time listeners of the show may remember that around this time of year is definitely wildfire season in LA.
Yeah.
I don't know really where I'm going with this.
Just that long time. You're just trying to stick it to me that long-time listeners will be bored by what I'm saying.
Hey, look, I'm magnanimous. I know that not every segment can be limber level.
All right, so we're going at each other pretty hard tonight. Or at least as hard as it ever gets between the two of us. If you would like to go hard by borrowing my copy of Sonic Forces for Nintendo Switch, you can. All you have to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address. Because look, Sonic can go fast, but you need to tell him where to go, right?
That is a really compelling point.
That should be Sonic the Hedgehog's tagline. He can go real fast, but you have to tell him where to go.
He should be teaming up with the Postal Service.
The band? Ben Gibbard and that other guy?
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I was talking about something completely different.
Yes, do that if you want to borrow my copy of Sonic Forces. Also, continue to send us your Super Mario Maker 2 levels. We like playing them. I like being frustrated by your levels, so please send them to us. And also, we have an announcement to make.
That's right. Our Donkey Kong 3 competition has come to an end, and the winner was Billy Mitchell.
No, okay, so that is true. He sent in the highest score, and we said... there was, I think, only one rule here, right?
So explicit.
That Billy Mitchell was not allowed to participate in the contest, so he was immediately disqualified. He had 94 million points.
Which just seems unlikely.
Yeah, it seems too high.
I have no definitive proof.
I don't think the numbers even go that high on the machine. But our winner is Lizzie with 213,400 points. Lizzie, I'm going to shoot you an email and we'll figure out where to send these socks.
That's right. Lizzie was an early favorite.
Yes.
And she really dominated the competition.
Right. She held on to it. So
congratulations, Lizzie.
Congratulations, Lizzie.
And thank you to everyone who participated.
Yes, absolutely. Good showings all around, except for those of you who didn't try it that hard.
And Billy Mitchell.
And Billy Mitchell, who obviously cheated. All right, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Can any of this be considered slander or we're calling him a cheater?
And Billy Mitchell seems like the kind of person that would come after us.
Litigious.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's all in good fun.
Patrick, can I tell you something?
You can.
So I was moving this weekend, and this week has been crazy. Didn't have a chance to play anything, which means I'm looking down at your list of the games you played.
Yes.
And I feel horrified because I missed the Tetris 99 Tetris Maximus Cup for the Fire Emblem skin.
That's right. So you have missed out on the opportunity to have the Fire Emblem theme.
I'm genuinely upset. Describe it to me.
Okay, so it's beautiful, first of all. On the left side of the screen, all three of the leads of the houses. On the right side of the screen, the mountain with Garrick Mach on monastery on the top of it. It's beautiful.
What's like the music like?
It's like the normal, like you're
Battle
in
theme?
battle. Yeah, it's the normal battle theme, which is way, way, way chiller than all the rest of the music. Because like, Fire Emblem, for being like exciting and nerve-wracking, isn't an action game, right? So its music has a much more like, we're in this for the long haul. We're gonna listen to this for a while, and I'm not here to hype you up. I'm here to like move you on to the next round.
So how does it change when you get to like the top 50?
It's so in the top 50 and then again in the top 10. It made me realize that like, oh, there are more intense versions of the like after, because every now and then there's like a turn in a battle, right, where like reinforcements for your enemy like come in from the side, or someone turns into a monster. So there's like a second version of the theme and then a third that are just like kind of more intense versions of that. But even at its most intense, it is way chiller than any of like the original Tetris music, the Game Boy music, or the Splatoon music. So it's a beautiful thing. And what the line clears are like different kinds of like weapon hits. So like, sometimes it'll just be like a where it's like, oh, okay, that was just like we just hit him with a sword, dealt him like normal damage, and then like, oh, that sounded like a critical hit. And
what like aesthetically do the boards look like? Because you know how like for like Splatoon and stuff like that, they
so
it up.
It's the flame crest is in the middle of the board, and then like the pieces themselves have a very like matte like finish, and the colors are bright but not in a Splatoon kind of way. It's really pleasing. We'll play a little bit when we're done.
I mean,
recording.
I want to. I'm so upset at myself. I almost just want to like live in your description of it forever. I don't know that I can match the image in my mind's eye.
It's very nice. I love it so much. But I realized something as I was playing Tetris 99 this weekend. I think this is the first time that they did not announce that there was going to be like winners of 10 Nintendo bucks for the top 100 or 1,000 players or whatever.
My memory of it is that the ones where they're doing the themes, they don't, and like they've kind of been alternating a little bit. I can't say for sure. That's what I think was happening.
And that's fine if that's the case. I would love there to be a Tetris 99 theme for every single Nintendo. Like, just bring them on. Like, keep rolling them out. I will participate in every single one of these things and love every single one.
I also think that at the end of these Maximus Cups, there should be a global leaderboard. That doesn't exist, right? Like, you don't know where you finished.
Yeah,
and I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, it would be really, that would be great. Because Sarah and I usually finish somewhere with like 1,000-ish points. And with maybe like a win in there and a couple second place, and then a lot, somewhere in like the 10 range. But yeah, it would be really fun to know like how you're actually stacking up against everyone else who's playing the game.
How close you got to being in that like top like 1,000.
Yeah, because I always feel like we should be close. But we've never won, so I have no idea. And then I've also continued to play Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I still love. I don't have anything fresh to say about it, other than I really, really like it. And then Sarah and I have continued our Mario Kart 8 Deluxe sort of obsession, and have been playing online a lot, which is just a fun way for the two of us to play something together, and just like let the time pass, you know?
Do you do battle or
no? We race. While we were playing, I think last night, I saw like a little notification on the screen that said like one of these players is trying to use the voice chat app. And I was like, oh, weird. So I went to my phone and was like, okay, so let's bring up the Nintendo Switch phone app, and I've got to log in. Okay, great. So I haven't used it in so long that it has logged me out, and then I need to update it because of course I haven't used it in months. And then I did all that, and then like I got into it, and it was like there's the little notification, and I was like, hey, should I do this so we can like chat with these people? And Sarah was like, nah. And I was like, great point, good. I didn't actually want to do it either.
How do you guys perform in the races online? Because I consistently just got destroyed all the time.
We do pretty well. I don't. Maybe there are just fewer people playing it now. But yeah, we're pretty good. So we'll go on little stretches where like she's in first place for a while, and then like I'll be in first place for a while, and then of course we'll have bad races as well. But yeah, we do pretty well. All right, that's what we've been playing this last week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week. Okay, so maybe a little sidestep on that one first, right? Capcom is currently having a big Nintendo sale, and it ends on Thursday, August 29th. So I thought we could just like go over some of these sale items and some of the things that are like that seem like exciting or good sales or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So for the first one here is one that I'm going to pick up because I wanted to play this game when it came out, but was like, I can't really bring myself to do it. It's the Capcom Beat 'em Up Bundle, which is a collection of like classic arcade beat 'em ups. Is down from $20 to $12. And it's got some like crazy old games, including some that never came to the States. So that's one I'm going to pick up. But also all of the Mega Man stuff on Switch, including Mega Man 11, Mega Man Legacy Collection, Legacy Collection 2, X Legacy Collection, and X Legacy Collection 2 are all down considerably from their original pricing. So if you're interested in Mega Man at all, I would say those are good games to pick up.
The one you were saying for the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle that you're interested but couldn't justify picking it up at the price before. For me, that is Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney trilogy.
Oh yeah.
It's regularly $29.99. It's $10 off, $19.99 for $20 to be able to play these on my TV or on the go.
Yep.
I'm definitely doing this.
Yeah. Also, all of the Resident Evil games, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 4, Revelations, and Revelations 2 are also on this list. And I think it's down $10 across the board, except for the Revelations games, which are down $6. But the pricing on Resident Evil 4 was one of those things that I was like, do I really want to spend $30 to play, or 40, or 30?
30, yeah.
But if it's only $20, like that's a lot harder to say no to. And then also the Street Fighter 30th anniversary, or Street Fighter 2 30th no, my bad. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, which is a good set of games. It's all the arcade versions of Street Fighter. There are 12 versions. The original Street Fighter, 5 Street Fighter 2s, 3 Street Fighter 3s, and 3 Street Fighter Alphas is down from $40 to $20. 20. This is a game that I bought on PlayStation, and there was a little bit where I was like, I'm probably going to double dip on this, but then I didn't. I might double dip on this, Mark.
There's also a mess of 3DS and Wii U games.
Yeah, so check out the list if you are interested in buying some cheaper Capcom games than normal. And again, this is only until the 29th, which is Thursday.
Also, on August 27th, today, Collection of Mana is released to retail.
That's right.
So this was released on the eShop around E3 time?
Yes, because
it was revealed at E3.
That's right. And I picked it up at the time and mostly played the Legend of Mana, which is the Game Boy one, which is weird that's where I sunk all of my time, was into the Game Boy game I've played a million times.
Right, because it's the first time that the third game,
Trials,
was ever available in the West.
Yeah, and I was just like, nope, I'm going to play the old Game Boy game.
And then on Thursday, August 29th, Pokemon Masters is coming out on iOS and Android.
Yeah, and that's the game where instead of like recruiting Pokemon, you're recruiting the Pokemon trainers from like the anime and previous Pokemon games, and they have their own partner Pokemon. And I guess it has more of a like co-op component to it. Are you interested in this game at all?
With all of these mobile games, it's
Yes.
one of those things where I'll totally download it and check it out, and we'll see if it grabs me. Usually mobile games, like I don't really spend that much time in.
Yeah.
But like with something like Dragalia Lost, I ended up enjoying that way more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah, never went back to it though, right? Like there was the week that we played it, and it was super fun, and then we're like, great, I never have to touch it again.
I just don't really like mobile gaming; just really isn't my thing.
Yeah.
And then you also had called out Decay of Logos, which I don't know what that is.
So Decay of Logos is that game that looks an awful lot like Breath of the Wild.
Oh.
And yeah, so I highlighted it here on our list of games to maybe be paying attention to.
I totally thought it was Decay of Logos, and it was some sort of like like branding.
Yes,
indie game where everything's a stark black and white.
I mean, that sounds
it's like
cool.
Mad Men, the game. Like it's all has the aesthetic of the opening credits of Mad Men. And then on Friday, Astral Chain is released, which a game I had no feeling towards.
Yes.
And now I have some preemptive feelings of missing out because the reviews are really good.
The reviews are surprisingly good. Yeah, I don't know where I sit on this one. Like, am I going to get it, Mark? Do we know?
This is because it's a Platinum game.
Yes.
It has that sort of like Bayonetta beat 'em up sort of thing. Maybe that's the part that I'm so unclear on because this game was not on my radar, and so I haven't watched any of really like the gameplay reveals or anything like that because I had written it off as a game that just isn't for me.
Yeah, and like we commented on the trailer for it that was in I think Nintendo's E3 showcase, the Direct, that like it just does this weird thing of like there's a lot of action going on, and then there's just like little snippets of dialogue from the characters,
seemingly totally unrelated,
and also being like, they say that you're the chosen warrior, but how can that be? And then someone else being like, we've got to close the gate, and you're like, what is any of this? Like it feels like anime nonsense. But that can make for a fun game. I'm still playing Fire Emblem.
Well, and
for example,
it also seems like the previews and some of the reviews talk about that there's so much more to the game in like the investigation and like, the police work and all that kind of stuff. I feel about this game like I felt about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where I'm just like, I have no idea what this is about or what's going on, but I was happily surprised to see the reviews, and it has definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah, so that's probably one that we will just keep an eye on. And if one of us feels moved to purchase it, perhaps we will. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, you have posed the question today of what is the worst haircut or hairstyle that we have ever had. First, I'm going to ask this question. Have you ever dyed your hair?
Have I? Not really. Like for like Halloween. Okay. One time when I was like in fourth grade, I can't remember even what I went as, but I spray painted or colored my hair red.
Yeah, sure.
But it was like the shocking like Halloween type red. And I thought it looked so cool. So my mom, let me leave it in for the next couple of days. I remember going to dance class and thinking, ooh, I have red hair now.
I mean, that's exciting.
It was very exciting.
Were you going as the heat miser from A Year Without a Santa Claus?
Oh, you know what? I might have. We all know how much I love Christmas. That's the worst year ever.
The Year Without a Santa Claus? It's not a good one. Because I dyed my hair a couple times in high school, including one time that I went. So I did like the platinum blonde.
Did you go all platinum or just frosted tips?
No, a whole thing. I would look. Everything here was DIY in the same sink that we would wash the dog in. You know what I mean? Like this is me in the basement before mom comes home. So yeah, did like the blonde, and then like a couple, like maybe a month or two into that, I dyed it red. So it was like from the blonde parts of it were like strawberry red, and then the roots were like darker, of course.
Was there a like person or something that you were like whose aesthetic you were trying to emulate?
Never once.
Ether?
It was just like, let's do something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to change something about this, and then maybe we won't hate it all so much. And then I also dyed my hair like black at one point, and that actually looked kind of okay on me, especially because I've lived in Southern California now for a long time, but in high school I was a pasty little Wisconsin boy, so like I had white skin, and then like the black hair looked kind of cool. But what would you say is the worst hairstyle that you have had?
Okay, I feel like my hairstyle in general has not changed that much.
You mostly just do like short on the side.
Yeah, but it's like way too short right now.
I don't think your hair is too short right now.
See, okay, thank you. I think it is.
Okay, well, very good.
I politely disagree. I mean, look, I'm never going to argue with somebody if they're like, you don't look bad.
I know you say it, but you don't look bad.
But yeah, so I can't think of.
So
there are specific times in my life, and I'm sure I will look back on times in my life right now where I'm like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. But in the moment, you're just, for the most part, I'm just living life, being like, yeah, I look fine.
Right.
Like my second grade school portrait. I'm wearing a shirt that has a hood on it. It's like divided into
just
four
sounds
squares.
Like what you wear.
It's divided into 4 squares, each one a bright, green, red, purple, yellow, and my hair's like parted to the side.
Yeah,
but it's like has a lot of volume somehow, but too much hairspray. But you could tell that I was too old for. I was like, this is how I'm doing my hair, and my mom was like, whatever.
I'm not going to argue with you. I to do another reference here to Fire Emblem Three Houses. Spent much of my young life with Ignatz's hair.
Oh,
just like straight up the bowl cut, like just resting gently on my head.
I never had the bowl cut, but I definitely had that like 90s sort of half bob. I don't even know what you'd call it.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's mostly what my sister and my mother have.
Yeah, exactly. That's
right.
The hair that I had for a lot of the 90s.
I also, for a time in college, just let my hair grow. So I had pretty long hair for a while, like down to my shoulders, which would have been fine if I took care of it at all. I just remember feeling like I always had too much hair, and like it was getting in my food and stuff, which is just gross. So I would say that was bad hair time.
I remember this was not necessarily bad. This was maybe the coolest I've ever looked. I remember being a kid, and no,
I guess
topic for another time.
I guess we will never know when Mark was the coolest he ever looked. Okay, we were accompanied today by the music ensemble at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
So Gamescom in Europe happened this past week, but it was kind of weirdly quiet for Nintendo.
Yeah, outside of the Indie World Showcase that we talked about last week, yeah.
And they also, I guess, had like presentations or released videos where they were showing off their games, but there was nothing really new
no
that
news.
we hadn't like seen before.
Yeah, like we saw like the the Switch. What are they calling it? Mini? The new one, the Switch Mini. Is that it?
Oh, Lite.
Light. Jeez, I could not remember what it was called. Like I know they had some of those on display, but yeah, no real news.
But we did get some few tidbits here and there.
Ooh.
Sega released a trailer for Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 that revealed special classic 2D events. It uses cute little 8-bit and 16-bit sprites, so players will be able to like compete in a number of events, including the 100-meter race, 400-meter hurdles, gymnastics, vault, judo, marathon.
The judo looks very funny. Volleyball.
I like the idea of judo in these like 2D sprites.
Yeah, me too. So we played a little bit. You played a little bit with me. This game at E3 this year. And it seems like it is just like a mini game collection. I always sort of hold out hope that these are going to be something a little bit more, or a little bit more interesting. This just wasn't that from my experience of it. But I gotta say, the 2D events does make me like look at it another time and be like, hey, this is kind of cool.
I appreciate that they're putting this extra like twist on the game, like this extra bit of like content and effort that's like a fun new spin that we haven't seen from these before. The most enjoyment I have gotten ever out of these Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, I think it's just fun to see the gifts people make. Like, I think it'll be fun to see for these 2D games, these 2D sprites, which obviously we've seen the 3D version of Mario and Sonic together in a game, but we've never seen the 2D versions. It'll be fun to see those sprites in, these like judo events. I also just love seeing Bowser do rhythmic gymnastics.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of fun.
It's very funny. One thing I do think is weird about this is so all of these Sonic characters are their 16-bit sprites. They look like they're from Sonic 2 or Sonic 3. And then all of the Mario characters are their like Super Mario Brothers sprites. So they are way less detailed, and like the sprite of Princess Peach doesn't make any sense next to the sprite of Knuckles, for example. It just looks very weird to me.
Especially like have these 8-bit versions doing anything.
Judo. Yeah, it's all just a little bit weird. I'm like, well, why not use like Super Mario World sprites?
Yeah, for whatever reason, I feel like Nintendo. Actually, that's not true. I'm going to walk it back before I even say it. I was going to say they're very precious about like the 8-bit Super Mario Brothers ones being the
like definitive
ones, but that's not even true. I think really the Super Mario Brothers 3 is the one that we see most often when they're doing like 8-bit sprites.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know. It's
all very
choice.
And it's a Sega's choice because it's a Sega developed game.
Well, we also got a release date for it, November 5th, 2019.
There we go.
Starting in September, you will no longer be able to use credit cards to make purchases on the Wii U or 3DS eShops. You'll have to add funds via some weird URL or with gift cards.
Yeah, you can go to a website so you can add funds, but you just basically the systems themselves are no longer going to be able to take your credit card information.
Yeah, which I think the slow deaths of these systems.
It's a little sad.
Also, to have the 3DS lumped in with the Wii U at this point, just because the 3DS, they continue to sell them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been around longer. So I have to imagine they'll be sunsetting them at about the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my 3DS is 100% digital. So I am very familiar with the purchasing process on that eShop. So it's just it's a little weird to me that I'm not going to be able to do that the same way much longer.
Final Fantasy VIII Remaster will be coming out a lot sooner than we thought. September 3rd.
How soon? And how soon did we think it was going to come out?
September 3rd.
Okay.
And not September 3rd.
Maybe the 4th or later.
So we thought maybe there was a chance this was going to be a digital release and a physical release, but I can't remember why we thought that. Maybe they hadn't like specifically delineated it initially.
Yeah, I think they just weren't clear on how it was going to come out.
But it's going to be coming out digitally for $20 on September 3rd. I'm kind of interested in this, partly because Final Fantasy VIII is definitely my least remembered
me
Final
too.
Fantasy from that era.
It is certainly my least remembered, and also I don't think I got past the first of 4 discs of this game. 4 discs? 3 discs. Final Fantasy VII was definitely 3 discs, and 9 was definitely 4. But I can't remember.
I mean, this is why we need to pick up the remaster.
There we go, because it'll tell us this would have been disc number 2.
But I don't know. There's something, and maybe I'm totally off base here, but there's something a little Majora's Mask-y about Final Fantasy VIII to me, where it's like you have Final Fantasy VII, which is a very specific aesthetic. Final Fantasy VIII, they did something very different.
Yeah.
And then it just wasn't as successful, so they went back to doing what they did before with Final Fantasy IX.
Yeah.
And so, both those games 7 and 9 are great games. Well remembered, but there's something intriguing to me about the kind of murkiness of Final Fantasy VIII.
The less remembered Final Fantasy VIII.
It hasn't been available, as readily as Final Fantasy VII and 9.
I mean, it also looks like the graphical upgrades that they are doing on it are like make the game actually look good. But I mean, yeah, I wonder if there's a weird like disconnect in the quality of the remasters for 7 and 9, where the character models look great, and then like everything else around them looks like, what is going on here? Because like it's just like single still images are the backgrounds, so like they can't like rescan the art or whatever. I don't know what it would take to recreate those assets. So I wonder if it's going to be a more congruous package than those other two, or if it's also going to have those same kind of problems.
I'll tell you what. Okay, this is actually what it reminds me of. I said Majora's Mask, but that's not entirely true.
Oh,
really, the feeling this is giving me is the Black Cauldron.
Okay,
a Disney movie from the 80s that I had never seen before, and probably like 20 years ago at this point. It was released on VHS, I want to say, for the first time ever. And I remember being so excited for it because it was just like this Disney movie that I had never seen before that they had never released on VHS previously. And it just seemed like this this like treasure that I appreciated that, very few people did. It's not a good movie.
Right. But you got to appreciate it.
I got to experience it.
It is also...
So I'm excited for Final Fantasy VIII.
And this may be an A to A comparison, but it's a little bit like Final Fantasy V in that regard, right? That 4 and 6 are so well remembered and well regarded as they were 2 and 3 here in the States, and then 5 is a game that like we could first play on PlayStation or something when those games were collected. That it occupies the same space of being like between two classics that often get re-releases. And now this one is available for the first time. So Final Fantasy VIII is like Final Fantasy V or The Black Cauldron or Majora's Mask. Take your pick.
Mario Kart Tour also has a release date. It's coming out on September 25th, and you can currently pre-order it on iOS.
Love pre-ordering free apps on my phone.
Love when they just like show up on my phone one day.
Yeah, that's
usually for whatever reason these Nintendo mobile apps have released like 2 or 3 days earlier than they said they were going to.
Yeah, so that's reason enough right there to sign up for it, or to pre-order it, I guess.
Temperature on Mario Kart Tour.
I mean, I am definitely going to check it out. With every one of these Nintendo mobile games, there's a moment where I'm like, this could be the new Super Mario Run for me, because I loved that game. And if there is ever another Nintendo game that can, get me back in to playing games on my phone, like I will let it. So yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting it to rock me, but it might.
Is this the last of the like non-Pokemon branded Nintendo mobile games that we know about?
Great
that
question.
Have been released?
Great question.
There were rumors of like a Zelda one, I think.
Yes,
but
we've never seen like a title for it or known what kind of gameplay we're talking about there.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is I think that's the closest we have to an idea of what might come next.
The director of both Dragon Quest Builders games, Kazuya Ninoy, has left his job at Square Enix.
No longer at Square Enix.
He announced on Twitter that after 7 years with the company, he was feeling burned out and wanted to explore a new development environment. This is, of course, being translated from Japanese. So.
Right, and translated by Twitter. Like, this is the automatic, the Twitter brain looking at it and being like, it says he's exploring a new development environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. My initial impulse is like, new development environment. What does that mean? But like, it just means he's doing something different.
Yeah. He's still gonna be around to support Dragon Quest Builders 2. But as an external contractor, so it's not like he's disappearing completely.
You really enjoyed the demo for Dragon Quest Builders, is that right?
So yeah, and then
did you end up?
Friend of the show,
yes,
June, let me borrow his copy. I played it for a little bit, got a little further than I did in the demo, but as I was getting ready to move, I like returned the games that I borrowed from him to him, just so that way it's like. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee that these will ever be returned to you.
That's right. Things get lost in a move.
But I did really like it a lot, and I've heard the Dragon Quest Builders 2 was even better because they were able to iterate on the things that worked. I don't know, it's interesting to me when you, anytime that you get these development things, especially, living in the world and as an adult, knowing people who work in different environments, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, being the
director.
The director for this game, man, like, this must be such a great job. He's made it. He's reached like the pinnacle. He's like, no, like I'm kind of burned out by it, and I'm gonna become
else.
like an independent contractor. And it's interesting to me to see that sort of thing that I know of in my own life, like reflected in these game developer worlds, which sometimes seem like so different and far away.
Yeah, and especially when there's that like one extra layer of abstraction of it being in the Japanese game development world, where you're just like, I have no idea what his day-to-day experience is like, and is he leaving because there's like secretly a better opportunity that we'll hear more about in the future, or is he just actually burned out? Like, burnout's a real thing, especially for the director of two games that came out in pretty rapid succession and are both big games, and with the Dragon Quest name attached to it, that's had to be high pressure situations as well. So we wish him the best, right?
Yeah. I mean, yes, for sure. Do we have a Nintendo Direct incoming shortly?
So you were mentioning just last week that you think September normally we see a Direct.
It's interesting because I feel like normally around this time the drum beats in the Nintendo community would be getting louder and louder.
Drums in the deep.
Exactly. In anticipation of a Nintendo Direct, everybody getting kind of antsy. I'm not sure why that is not the case this year. Maybe because Nintendo's year is pretty stacked around this time.
Well,
so people are like focused on those releases, because we have Astral Chain coming out this week. We have Demon X Machina coming out very shortly thereafter, like a week or two.
I still can't believe that game's like actually coming out.
And then we have Link's Awakening, and at the end of the month, Dragon Quest XI-S. So I don't know if that's why maybe people are
and then Luigi's Mansion,
on,
and then Pokemon.
Whereas last year it felt like there was kind of a drought between until you got to Pokemon and especially Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like that's distracted people from wanting or really hyping up another Nintendo Direct, but
totally.
I do kind of think we're due one.
Yeah. Well, and Fire Emblem also just came out. So like, yeah, we're and Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Yeah. So like, it has been, what was that? Just like 6 or 7 big games that are all coming out in the second half of the year.
And there's the Switch Lite coming out really soon.
Yeah.
There's been lots of other Nintendo news, I guess.
Oh, wow. The Switch Lite is actually coming out very soon at this point.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks.
Is it September 20?
I think it might be.
It's the same day as Link's Awakening, right?
I think it's a week before Link's Awakening.
I think it's the
I can't remember.
Of Link's Awakening.
Let's call the whole thing off.
What, the show? Calling off the show?
No. Let's continue to do the show, but we'll... I said let's continue to do the show, but we'll hate each other.
Okay, perfect. I agree to those terms.
We'll be like the people who created Modern Family. But anyways, GameStop's internal system, which is only accessible to employees, is showing over a dozen new Nintendo Switch SKUs without names with the generic release date of 12/31/19. So this could portend the upcoming announcement of a bunch of new Switch games that you have placeholder dates or some that might be coming later this year.
It seems like a lot, right?
Yeah, and also we just normally get a direct in September or around September. Maybe related to this, an Amazon listing for an Overwatch branded Nintendo Switch carrying case was posted and quickly removed yesterday. The case was officially licensed by Nintendo and Blizzard, or at least was from a partner, that has licenses with both Nintendo and Blizzard. So could Overwatch be coming to Switch?
I guess Blizzard is on Switch in the form of Diablo, right? But that's it. And that was sort of a thing that was a surprise to us, right?
Totally. But they've also, after Diablo 3, they've expressed interest in continuing to want to support the Switch. And I feel like from the moment the Switch became kind of successful, people have been asking them about Overwatch on Switch, and they've always expressed interest. And at this point, it kind of feels like
just do it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, obviously not knowing the technical ramifications of saying that, but from a graphics perspective, it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, and also just Overwatch, of all the Blizzard games, Overwatch seems like the most console-y of them to me. I know there's a big PC player base for it, but yeah, that people play that game on console all the time in a way that they're not playing, the Diablos, with the exception of 3, and WoW and StarCraft and all those games. I still want to know when, I feel like Hearthstone, why isn't that on Switch?
Yeah, that's also really weird to me. Although I feel like, and this is just anecdotally, that the buzz around Hearthstone, not in a way that it's just established at this point.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, fair enough.
And so, but you haven't really seen Gwent, the Witcher game, hasn't come. The relaunch of Magic Online that I actually don't even know if it still exists at this point.
Is that Duel of the Planeswalkers, or is
something like that?
I just said the first subtitle I could think of related to Magic.
If it's not that, we should start a D&D campaign with that name because it sounds really cool.
No, that is definitely something.
Curious about Dragon Quest XI Echoes of an Elusive Age, a definitive edition, but not convinced that you should spend $60 to have that curiosity sated.
Yes.
Well, good news.
Yes, Mark, I am.
There's a demo for DQXIS:EOAEA:DE. It's a meaty demo, about 10 hours of the game, and the best part is your progress carries over to the full game. So I'm definitely going to get this.
Yeah, me too. Even though I picked up the game on PlayStation 4 and didn't play more than 4-ish hours of it, so I will probably get further in the demo than I ever got in the full game, which I bought for $20 a while back. This is one that I really want to check out, if for no other reason than just to experience what the new music landscape is in that thing.
And the 16-bit version.
And the 16-bit version, yes.
Which I feel like is not being talked about enough.
No, so what the game does, there was a 3DS version of this thing in Japan that allowed you to switch back and forth between the two, or was it just the 16-bit version?
Well, it had a it obviously wasn't the full fidelity of the PS4 version.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like a hybrid of the two.
Yeah. So then this allows you to actually either play it like it's an old Super Nintendo game, or like it's a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, 3D, fully immersive
kind of world. And I think you could switch back and forth on the fly.
On the fly?
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
That sounds very cool.
Plus all the voice acting, the orchestrated soundtrack, which was one of the big complaints people had about the PS4 version. Just being able to play it portably. I feel like these big, meaty RPGs, to me, I don't want to be chained to the television.
Right. Yeah, and especially, oh man, if you're watching something, you just want to pull it out and grind out some levels or whatever. Yeah, man, I am way there for it.
Very excited for this. One thing to note is that the demo has been crashing for some users. Producer Hokuta Okamoto has commented saying that they're trying to fix the issues, but they haven't been able to produce it internally or reproduce it internally. So they're asking for players' patience as they work on it.
I mean, thank you for working on it. It's always weird to me when a developer puts out a demo and then patches the demo. Because I'm like, just work on the...
But I
the
guess
demo's out there, man.
Well, I think the game has already gone gold on
okay.
the Switch. Like you can preload it right now.
Hmm.
So I think that part is done. But I also get it from like a sales perspective. You're like,
yeah, sure.
oh yeah, if we get people into the demo and the demo carries over to the full version, then you're just like making that sale a lot easier.
Yeah, it's one of...
I know that's not the sexy part of game development.
And look, we're normally all about the sexy part of game development.
It's why you download this show.
But yeah, it's one of those weird like parts of the games industry where they put out a demo and then patch the demo. And it's like, whoa, this is so weird and backwards, but okay.
Mortal Kombat 11 has finally announced all 6 DLC characters for the Combat Pack with a K.
So we may have talked about some of this before because some of this information leaked. But
oh, that's right. Was it a leak? Because I remember us talking about Spawn.
Yeah, we did. We definitely did talk about Spawn, and I think we knew Nighthawk, Sindel, and Shang Tsung. And then we talked about Spawn for sure, but the 2 other characters are Joker. And this is the Joker from Batman, not the Joker from Persona. I know there's a lot of confusion in the fighting game community these days, but it's the Joker from Batman and the Terminator T-800, which is the new, it's the Schwarzenegger license. Likeness from the new Terminator movie. What's that one called?
Genesis
might be
or was
right.
that the old one?
I don't.
This one's Dark Future, Dark Past, Dark Forces.
Dark Phoenix.
Something. It's Dark something for sure.
Terminator is showing up in all video games right now.
They're trying really hard.
They are like he's in the new Gears of War, I think, and like some other. I have seen like special Terminator content in like every game that's been announced or shown off in the last like 3 months. And it's weird that the Terminator marketing team was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the Terminator in every video game we can. And people are just going to love it.
I mean, I think it's because they don't know what to do with Terminator.
Sure.
And so they are trying to figure out like, who is the target audience for this? Gamers, maybe people who like Mortal Kombat because that's from the 90s too. Like I think it just goes to show that Terminator is nobody knows what to do with it.
Yeah, it is a lost franchise, and it's the same as Alien, really,
or Spawn, maybe.
Well, I don't know. Spawn's 300 issues of Spawn, but and it's been basically the same forever. But like Terminator, the first 2 Terminator movies, were something cool, especially that second one. And then like the franchise has just been like, how many Terminator movies have there been in the years since then? Like 3 or 4, and there was that series as well, and like it's all just kind of a mess. And like I just don't know who it is that's excited about new Terminator and like having the Terminator in video games. But like they're trying something here.
So Terminator and Spawn, I get from the perspective of like if they're incorporating them into the storyline of Mortal Kombat 11,
sure,
which involves like time travel.
Yeah, so like, Terminator perfectly at home in time travel, and Spawn, yeah, there are creatures from hell all the time in Mortal Kombat. He makes sense.
Joker makes like a little, important part. I'm sure they'll explain it, and I'm sure it'll be dumb, and that'll be great because
right.
Mortal Kombat 11's story was all about that craziness. Do you think is it just the model that they used for?
No, so it's a totally different model.
Oh, okay, that's
and
cool.
Looks nothing like any of because the Joker that they use in Injustice looks very it looks a lot like the Arkham Asylum Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is Warner Brothers and WB, so like that makes sense. That they have access to the character, and obviously they've put him in fighting games before, including Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe from like a decade ago. So this isn't the first time that the Joker has been able to fight Scorpion or whatever. But yeah, it's just a little bit weird.
I was actually
Yeah.
There's a new Terminator movie coming out, so I understand why they did that.
There's a new Joker movie coming out.
There's also a new Spawn movie being made. I wonder if that's under Warner Brothers. Terminator, not under Warner Brothers, but they could probably get the license for cheap because they want to.
Because they're just trying
movie.
to put Terminator in games.
Yeah.
They're like, look, here are the things we want to do. We want to put the Terminator in video games, and we don't want to make a video game. So how do we accomplish this? We just let everyone else put him in their game as a guest character.
Look, we're talking an inordinate amount of time about Terminator.
Yeah.
It's almost like we're being paid to talk about Terminator. Terminator.
In theaters this fall.
Dark Phoenix.
I don't know if that's true.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 has an update coming on August 30th. In addition to the previously announced new characters, Cyclops and Colossus, which, by the way, I didn't look up to see if that's true. I just did it based on our gut instinct of being, those being the two characters. I know Cyclops is, I think Colossus is the other one.
Yeah.
But we had, we had given ourselves positive affirmation.
That's right.
For pulling those names. So
I'm going to continue to assume that it is correct.
But they had also announced previously that characters would be getting new costumes through early next year, and we get the first of those new costumes with Spider-Man getting the symbiote. How do you say this? Symbiote suit. Hulk getting the Planet Hulk battle armor,
which is pretty cool,
and Captain Marvel getting the Ms. Marvel look, which is interesting because I was going to say Kamala Harris, which can't possibly be true.
Yeah, no, it's not. Khan is the character's last name.
Is already in the game.
Yeah,
so I think it's interesting.
And it is a different costume though than she wears, right? Though it's like the black one with the yellow lightning bolt.
Oh, I guess it might be. Yeah.
So I looked it up. Terminator Dark Fate is out November 1st.
That's what you looked up.
Yep.
You didn't look up if Colossus and Cyclops are the free characters.
Nope. No, I did not.
Right. What I already forgot what it was
called.
Marvel. No. Hold on.
Dark Fate.
Dark Fate.
November 1st.
Uh-huh.
And since Terminator 2 Judgment Day, there's been Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, which came out in 2003, Terminator Salvation, which came out in 2009, and Terminator Genesis in 2015.
So this is the fourth attempt to make a new Terminator movie that somebody cares about.
Yes, and there was a television series in there as well. They'll get there.
Or they won't.
No, you're right. They will not. So sorry, what were we?
Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, you were looking up Cyclops and Colossus.
Yes. So DLC characters? Here we go. Marvel Ultimate Alliance DLC. Nope, this is just giving me Blade, Punisher. First, Cyclops and Colossus. Very good.
Oh, yes.
Done. Yes.
Where Patrick and I are shaking hands.
That's right.
We did it. Finally,
yes.
Pokemon developer Game Freak uploaded a video interview recently with Shigeki Morimoto, the designer of the mysterious Mew Pokemon. Siliconera translated some of the most interesting parts, including the fact that Morimoto designed Mew to be a simpler version of Mewtwo, and he did that to save cartridge space.
Huh? What does that mean?
Well, I think it's literally just we'll take Mew but make him less fancy because that's less pixels, and then he takes up less memory. Because you have to literally save those sprites in memory.
Yeah, but when you're saving a sprite, it actually takes up less memory if it uses fewer pixels?
Sure, because it's less size.
It's
literally less size.
It's just small.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And I thought this was interesting. In the early days, each Mew was procedurally generated on Morimoto's PC. Because basically, Mew was he wasn't officially in a Pokemon game for a very long time.
Right, he's 151.
Right, so he was a mysterious Pokemon that they added after they were able to they took out some of the debugging stuff. And so there was a little bit of extra space. And so for those of you who are a little bit younger, Mew was a very mysterious character, and there was lots of speculation on how somebody got Mew. But initially, he was saying that each Mew was procedurally generated on his computer. They each had a different Pokemon ID, and he said that at select fan events, he would have to literally trade Mew with players one-on-one with link cables.
Oh my gosh!
So the first time they did it was just 20 people, the second time was 100, and then eventually they just like were able. I mean, I like that Mew was like a virus and he was patient 0,
and he just had to sit there with his Game Boy, pulling
patiently like trading Pokemon.
Crazy,
and it would be a different Mew each time because each one had a different Pokemon ID. I love that. I love that kind of like hacky way to introduce this character that we all just kind of take for granted now. Like, what a cool, fun thing.
Yeah, and now we got no limitations, and so Pokemon can be
so
whatever.
Where's the National Pokédex?
No, Mark, come on.
No, that's who I am now.
No, it is not who you are. Look, it's fine to want what you want, but just don't harass anyone, okay? All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. That is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like this episode, you should share it with someone or everyone.
Don't forget to send us your Limber level.
Yes, to Nintendo Cartridge Society at
gmail.com.
Or you could tweet that at us. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MK Mitchell. And the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page. And that's, you find things on Facebook the way you would find things on Facebook by searching for Nintendo Cartridge Society. That'll get you right to us. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.
Campfire.